Yes, guys, hope you're all very, very well and welcome to the YouTube video. This one's a little bit different because, the last however many videos we've been doing, they've been in-gym videos, talking you through training, talking you through exercise selection, all that. But this one's going to be a little more educational from a overview, like plan of action perspective. I'm going to go through what I've done in the last 10 months and what I'm going to be doing in the next maybe 6 to 12 months to give you an idea of how planning and how setting out a timeline can really help you in your physique development. So let's take you back all the way through. So let's take you back all the way to the start of the gaining phase. So that's the gaining phase that I've literally just finished 2 days ago. I started this at the start of April. So since then, it's been April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 12 months. Wow, I didn't realize it was 12 months. I thought it was 10. So pretty much been gaining for 12 months. Before that, I did a big dieting phase, going from 115 kilos all the way down to 95 kilos. Then throughout this gaining phase, I've basically put on 10 kilos. So across 12 months, I've put on 10 kilos. At the very start of that gaining phase, I set myself the goal of being accurate across every single month, aiming to gain 1% of my body weight per month. And that's pretty much exactly what I've done. Obviously, 10 kilos up, 12 months total. I'm slightly behind that 1% rate of gain. But that's really been based on performance. If my performance is awesome, there's been no need to push my food up any higher, and therefore I can get away with a slightly slower rate of gain. So 12 months total gaining, 10 kilos gained, and general thought process throughout that is I've been, from a training perspective, making sure performance is at the forefront at all times. So where I can progress, I take progressions in terms of getting extra reps or increasing the weight. If I'm progressing very well on specific muscle groups that I've been trying to work on, like my delts and my midsection, my hamstrings, I've been adding in volume where I can. So basically, if I'm recovering well and I'm progressing, I've been adding in volume. And if I can get away with recovering from that extra volume, then awesome. That should equal extra gains. Now, this is all going to be tested to see if it's actually worked at the end of this next phase, but I'll go into that in a second. So that's the first one, performance focused, and it's been around increasing volume where I can, if needed, on certain body parts. Then the second thing that's maybe been a little bit different compared to previous gaining phases is nutritional quality has remained really, really high throughout the whole thing. Of course, the occasional off-plan meal, whether it's going out for a meal or, not being on chicken and rice and broccoli. I'm not saying I've done that every day, but I've been very, very consistent in terms of hitting my micronutrition, hitting my calorie targets very accurately on a daily basis. Previously, when I did the big gaining phase and got to 115, I wasn't super accurate. I'd be playing rugby thinking I needed 5,500 calories, and it wouldn't always go to plan. So this one, I've been super accurate. So they're the main two changes I've made from this gaining phase compared to the previous one. Increased volume where I can, really focused on performance, and then secondly, being a lot more accurate with my nutrition. So 12 weeks done. Not 12 weeks, I keep saying that. So 12 months done of the gaining phase, and now we've kind of ticked it off. I was a couple of weeks ago trying to make the decision of what to do next, whether to go into a diet or whether to just keep gaining and keep pushing up, because my appetite's still pretty good, so I could keep gaining. My training is good. My sleep's pretty good as well. In the past, when I've got to 115, they're the things that start to go downhill. But the thing that really pushed me over the edge is thinking, what do I actually want to do? Sure, could it be slightly more beneficial for me if I was to remain at a heavy body weight from a performance perspective, keep pushing up all my lifts? Yeah. It might be a good idea, but for me right now, I don't have any immediate goals like it's rugby, or I don't need to absolutely 100% maximize my muscle gain across the next 3 months. And because of that, I thought, well, let's just diet now, get a little bit leaner, feel pretty awesome for my summer holiday. That's the goal. Because it's not actually that nice, walking around the beach being really heavy, because you're just sweaty and gross. Anyway, So we made a decision to move into the dieting phase, and now I'm going to just touch on my training, nutrition, and the plan of action for that to give you an idea of what I'm doing. So I've set out 10 weeks to pull off around about 10 kilos in body weight, taking me from 105 down to 95. That gives me a few weeks left before my summer holiday or where I predict it will be. So if I actually want to end up getting a little bit leaner than 95, it gives me the scope to do that. Now, across those 10 weeks, obviously 10 kilos is going to be about a kilo a week. So for me, that's about 1% body weight a week. Initially, I'm going to be, or have been, a lot more aggressive out the gates. So, in the first 2 days, I've actually lost 1.6 kilos. Now, that's kind of expected because you're going to be pulling down carbohydrates. Your body's sort of carbohydrate stores within intramuscularly going to drop quite fast, which along with that is going to come with, water reductions, and all in turn leads to fairly aggressive body weight out the gates. But even still, I really, in the first 5 weeks would like to be pulling off the majority of that 10 kilos, maybe around 7-8 kilos across those first 5 weeks, because again, that then gives me the power to A, fill up if I need to, add some more carbs in, or B, realize that actually I could probably get leaner than 95 and continue to push on. So really, really aggressive out the gates, and then we'll see what we need to do in the last 5 weeks to get to that condition I'm looking for. Because I've never been diced. I've been lean at 95 or 94 last diet. I was lean, but not very lean, and I'm interested to see what that would actually look like. So maybe we'll make the decision this year to push on and get to that sort of condition. Now, what am I doing to get there? You're probably asking. Nutritionally, my food got up to about 4,000 calories on my training days in my gaining phase. I've been pretty aggressive in terms of the changes, pulling off 1,400 calories, taking my training days to 2,600. Again, I want to be aggressive. I know that I'm able to maintain performance, so I should be able to maintain muscle mass, and I won't be being this aggressive throughout the whole thing. It's just for that initial fat loss. So 2,600 calories currently on my training days, 220 grams of protein, just under 300 carbs, and just under 60 fat. On my non-training days, in my peak off season, very similar story. It was around 3,400 and I've pulled back to 2,100. So again, a fairly aggressive drop. For most of you, I probably wouldn't recommend this level of drop, but I'm kind of experimenting on myself to see, okay, what happens if I do this? And if it's great, then we can start implementing it into my clients' journeys as well. For those that have high food, they've got good training experience, maybe we can actually push pretty hard in those first few weeks of the diet. So non-training days, like I said, is 2,100 calories. Protein, same at 220. Carbs are just under 200, around about 175, and then fats are at 60 for the day. I do have a full meal plan, but I'm not going to bore you with the ins and outs of that. Now, in terms of cardio, this has remained fairly consistent for me across the off-season. Granted, I could have probably been a little bit more consistent, but I've got a bike downstairs at home. It's super easy to use. So cardio right now is 3 times a week at 25 minutes. If I need to increase this, I will do, but I'll just assess rate of loss. But for now, this works really well for my schedule. It doesn't take me too much time. So I'd much rather, for me personally, pull back food than add in cardio, just because time is definitely very valuable to me. Steps-wise, similar story. Steps take a long time. So I'd rather pull back on food personally for my routine than add in steps. Right now, my step target is 7,000, which really isn't very high at all. Later down the line, I can almost guarantee I'm going to have to increase this. But again, I'm sort of holding out until I need to. 7,000 will do the job for the first couple of weeks. Then from a training perspective, really nothing needs to change. Whenever you go into a gaining phase, you don't need to change your training. You don't need to suddenly be doing high rep training. Keep it all the same. The only consideration you need to have is if you pull back your food intake, you will have less food for your recovery. So you won't be able to recover from as much if your food is 1,000 calories lower than it was in your gaining phase. So with this in mind, you need to be reactive within the dieting phase to make changes where you need to. So, for example, on my push sessions, right now I've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sets of pressing across the week, including dips and things like that. Throughout this diet, I probably won't be able to recover from 12 sets, especially in maybe 5, 6, 8 weeks' time. So what I'm going to do is keep an eye on my performance, and if it looks like I'm not recovering from the sets that I'm doing, aka my performance is dropping drastically, I'll reduce the amount of sets I'm doing to make sure I can still recover, therefore make sure I can maintain performance. So again, it all relates back to performance, making sure that my training is at the highest priority. Training split right now is pushing arms, posterior, lower, upper. So I'm hitting basically everything twice a week apart from quads. Quads in lower get pretty battered. 2 sets of leg extension, 2 sets of a hack, 2 sets of leg press. I've got a feeling I'm going to take out the hack. I've not been doing it the last 2 weeks, and it's felt a lot better in terms of that leg work. And I'll just split the volume that I'm doing in that hack across other exercises. So maybe into 3 sets of leg extension, 3 sets leg press. But to be honest, like even doing 4 sets absolutely batters my quads. So we'll see. I think I'll do 3 and 3, 3 leg press, 3 leg extension. And then again, just address how it all goes. So yeah, that's pretty much an outline of what I'm doing right now. I will keep you updated across this whole dieting phase across the next 10 weeks to see the progress that I get. I'll put up some photos of where I'm at right now as well. I took some today. Granted, I look pretty flat after losing nearly 2 kilos over 2 days, but it gives you a good idea of where I'm at, and then I'll keep updating you on a week-to-week basis depending on how much progress I make. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe. If you want me to do more videos like this talking through my plan, let me know. And as always, I'll be back with another video very, very soon.